It's press corps, people. I'm David Cruz. Budget battle lines being drawn. Another special election in New Jersey. When was the last time you voted on a Thursday in April? And is there a way to walk to MetLife for the World Cup? The press corps panel jumps in right after this.
Hey, we're taking a break from the show to remind you that when you like, subscribe, and share this content, you're helping us build an audience for independent journalism. Thanks for streaming. Let's get back to the program.
Approaching mid-April and budget season starting to heat up. We're seeing some signs of that already. Let's bring the panel in to take a look. Brian Donohue is editor at Red Bank Green. Jelani Gibson covers the State House for NJ Advanced Media. And Fred Snowflack covers politics for InsiderNJ. Gents, welcome. Let's start with the state budget. $60 billion. Lots of money, but seemingly not enough to go around. Fred, lots of big names testifying before both of these budget committees today. Any takeaways?
No, I think it's what you said. I mean, it's a lot of money, and it's Mikey Sherrill's first budget. And Republicans, of course, are complaining that she said she was going to cut the budget, and she claims to have made some cuts, but the total amount of the budget is increasing, which is, I guess, that sort of source for Republican complaints. And it's also very interesting to see, Mikey Sherrill wants to do away with the so-called Christmas tree items. And we'll see, and I'm sure she's getting pushback on that, and that's not surprising the way politics is. So we'll have to see how that happens down the road.
Did we get anything from hearing from OLS or the treasurer? Any enlightenment from that?
No, I haven't seen any enlightenment. Maybe I missed that. So
you missed all the enlightenment.
I missed the enlightenment.
Jelani, these guys, they talk funny. It's like, well, it didn't not happen.
Well, I mean, but the New Jersey budget is notorious for being transparent, right?
Yes.
Like that.
You're not being sarcastic, are you?
No.
I would never dream of it in 100 years as a reporter.
Did anything jump out at you, though, Jelani, from anything from OLS, the treasurer? They had the top shelf talent this week. Chris Kalari showed up.
Yeah, I mean, they did say that, you've got double-digit increases for healthcare, once more. And so that's obviously going to be a pain point. They also did preview that they were going to have some hard questions for the education commissioner, next week or whenever the Senate decides to do their thing. There was an argument of sorts about how much money was being given to new infrastructure for schools being built and everything like that.
Which was zero, right? Did they say?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, there's no, according to what Treasury had to say, doesn't look like there's going to be much money in the pot for that. But they did make clear that the projects that had already been approved are still being built out. But to be clear, that's not exactly what a lot of legislators wanted to hear.
Yeah. Let's meet and say hello to Brian Donohue, editor at Red Bank Green. Really no stranger to anyone who's read or watched or listened to the news in the state over the last 20 years. Now on the front
maybe
line,
30.
How much? 30?
Yes. Yeah. I've been around a little bit. So
yeah, he used to have long hair.
I'm not really in the trenches in Trenton these days. I'm in the trenches on the local level with my coverage. So what I have for the budget is sort of the more having been down there and covered the stuff, but the 30,000 foot view and this Christmas tree thing is really interesting to me because I think Cheryl's early on in her term now, and there's this. What kind of a Democrat is she going to be? Is she going to toe the line with the machine, or is she going to be one of these newer reform Democrats like the Mamdani and this new wave of Democrats that people talk about? And this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Like going after those Christmas tree items, those coveted budget items that these guys all want for their districts and these little pet projects. This is where it's like, all right. Is she going to have to play ball? Is she going to have to drop this, let them have the Christmas tree items? Or is she going to really, push and try to use the political capital and this, these tailwinds that might be behind Reform Democrats now. See how far she can push it. So that's pretty interesting uh, battle right now, I think, for
Yeah.
me, for people to watch.
I wanted to because I know you are a humble dude, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing at Red Bank Green. You've been on the cutting edge of a lot of stuff from the Ledger Live, which was a daily newscast in the middle of the day online 1,000 years ago. You went, and then you
2008,
were
yeah.
chasing Jersey, but local news where you are now is really the front lines, is it not?
It really feels, it's interesting because I went from a newsroom of 350 people at the Star Ledger, and then at News 12, a newsroom of 100, and now I'm a newsroom of one.
Yeah.
And when I did that, it was kind of like, man, like, is my career going completely backwards here? I had that moment. I feel like the luckiest person in journalism because I now get to cover my own town and do this. So and then a couple months in, I went to a conference in Chicago for local independent online news publishers, the organization called Lion. And I looked around and I realized all over the country, there's people like me, people who are at bigger news organizations and have, because of all the cutbacks and everything else, and then they've come home to their communities and tried to start local news sites, and my joke is always, all it takes you don't need a printing press anymore. You don't need a lot of capital. All you need, I always say, is a laptop and a spouse with health insurance. And you can start a news site.
Yeah, I can dig it. Well,
and it does feel like it's a part of it feels good to be part of what I feel like is an effort to kind of solve the problem of the disappearance of local news.
I tell people, that it's not even a theoretical attack on journalism. It is right at the fundamentals of journalism. I mean, you talk about the changes that were made to the Open Public Records Act, and changes at the Election Law Enforcement Commission, all designed really to stifle local journalism. So I give props all the time because I'm from local news too, and I really think that getting your street paved and checking on who's developing what in your neighborhood is as important as some of the federal stuff that really is often distracting. So thanks for being with us, and I appreciate you, man. Do you love not having to cover the State House every day?
I do. I lasted I think 3 years in the State House Bureau when I was at the Ledger, and then I put in for the immigration beat up in Newark, which I covered for 7 years. But it was the best. I have to cover Trenton for a while if you're going to be a journalist in this state because you really need to see how things work. And when you are in Trenton and you're covering the State House, now covering the local level, you see things through a completely different prism. All the things that the officials are grappling with on the local level, I realize this all starts upstream in Trenton. It's a great perspective to have. You got to spend some time in Trenton if you're going to understand New Jersey.
Yeah, and so long as you survive, you're all right. All of you guys touched a little bit on these Christmas tree items, but you had Democrats pushing back. We had the Assembly Budget Chairperson, Eliana Pintor Marin, who was pretty aggressive especially for her, in some of the stuff that she said.
The legislature is not an afterthought. It is a co-equal branch of government. There has been a lot of discussions around what are being labeled as Christmas tree items. It is important that we step back and call these investments what they actually are. They are funding for organizations that serve our most vulnerable residents. They are improvements to parks where our children play. These are not extras. These are not ornaments. They are impact.
Jelani, Pintor Marin was talking to the governor straight up, no?
Yeah, I mean, I was there in person, right? And usually budget hearings, usually the assembly budget hearings are considered the more, I guess you could say, diplomatic in tone,
Yes.
sort of things. Like they're usually considered the hearings where reporters aren't expecting, that many fireworks, right? But
Right.
it's still the first.
There's no Sarlo on that committee.
Or Declan O'Scanlan, right?
Right, right.
And so this was one of those rare moments, right? But let's be clear. I mean, Pintor Marin, she has always been the one who has taken offense to the calling of these things Christmas tree
Yeah.
items, right? I mean, in every budget session, she talks about what she perceives as the value of these items. But this was the first instance where that I can remember where she gave a specific speech during, during a session, and it did, quite frankly, seem directed at the governor. That being said, what makes this a little bit more complicated is the structural deficit, right? The entire aspect of this budget is that it's supposed to cut down on the deficit. And the large question here is that's only going to happen if Trenton decides to go with the budget that the governor suggests, which almost never happens, right? So, what's going to be added? Now, when you went to the Senate hearing, they were also questioned about pork, and Treasury made clear they expect some things to be added, but they certainly don't expect 500 million to be added like it
Right.
was underneath the Murphy administration.
Yeah. Fred, you've been through a couple of government shutdowns in your day. Does this look like something that they could go down to the wire and then what is it Charlie Style likes to say? They went to the mattresses. Are they going to go to the mattresses on this? And are we going to have a government shutdown?
My hunch is no. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
it is true. I mean, there are differences as were being articulated, but we are talking about everyone's the same political party, and Democrats do have such huge advantages in the Assembly and the Senate. So I'm sure they'll be able to get it done by June 30th.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I mean, we don't really know, but I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Let me stick with you here, Fred. You've been following this Roxbury story. Congressman Tom Kaine Jr. now trying to be relevant in the conversation. Roxbury is in his district, and locals are opposing a detention center there. And so Kaine sent a letter to DHS
Yeah, I mean,
saying,
it's kind of funny if you read it. He sent a letter to the feds basically asking them to take another look at this. And he did not in the letter mention that both Roxbury and the state of New Jersey are suing the federal government. Obviously, the federal government knows that, but Tom Kaine did not mention that. And he said something like a very bureaucratic language like, the officials in Roxbury have concerns about this.
right.
I mean, they're suing the government and they passed a resolution condemning it. I don't know. I don't know what's driving. Someone must have told Tom Kaine that, hey, you have to say something about this. But what he said was kind of silly. I don't get it at all. I mean, the Republicans in Roxbury have said publicly that Tom Kaine has not really been a good advocate for them. They've actually praised online. They have stuff on their website. They've praised Andy Kim and Cory Booker for trying to help them. And this is a pretty conservative Republican town, Roxbury.
Go ahead, Brian.
It just strikes me that this issue just handed him on a platter an opportunity to shed this reputation he has as a guy who doesn't answer questions and doesn't he's spineless, and all this criticism of him, of a guy who's wishy-washy and he doesn't want to go against Trump, and he doesn't. This was an opportunity. Everybody in his district is against this thing, and he just played right into all of the criticism of him in a most spectacular way yet. It was amazing to read that wishy-washy letter that he wrote.
By trying to look like he's standing up for his constituents, he actually looked like a Trump toady, no, Jelani? I mean, the Trump toady is strong, albeit probably accurate, but
it would appear that his constituents are not happy with his advocacy. and that they have not been happy with his advocacy for quite some time during this saga. This is not a sudden conclusion
Right.
of anger that his constituents came to. This has been a long running saga of dissatisfaction for them, to say the least.
Yeah. Let's move on to CD11, where Republican Joe Hathaway and Ana Lilia Mejia will be the story, I guess, next Thursday, because let's have a special election on a Thursday. And so that election is Thursday. They had the big debate. Fred, anything come out of that other than it looked like Ana Lilia Mejia got forced into this?
Yes, she did. I mean, Joe Hathaway's the underdog here. Democrat registration lead is like 60,000 plus in the district. And his point is very simple. He says it at the debate that Mejia is radical, she's a socialist, and to boot, she's anti-Semitic. That's basically his point. And that's and he said, and of course she's going to be another AOC and a quote unquote squad member. Now, I really don't know how far that goes. As I said, there's really not enough Republicans in the district. And of course, for Joe Hathaway to have any chance at all, he has to get votes from Democrats. And he claims, quote unquote, that he's had some town hall meetings, some meets and greets in places like Maplewood and South Orange, and some Democrats are afraid that Mejia is too left wing. I don't really buy that. If you recall, Jack Ciattarelli talked about getting a lot of support from Democrats too last November, and we saw
Yeah.
what happened. I mean, with the Donald Trump factor out there and gas prices $4 a gallon, it's really a tough time to run as a Republican.
Brian, it took me the longest time uh, um, to remember how I knew Joe Hathaway, and it was from the Christie days when he would do the preamble to the Christie to the Christie town halls. He would always end his spiel by saying, "Anybody have any questions?" Nobody
That's
ever
the
does.
same guy.
Yes.
Yeah, he was an advance man for Christie.
All right, this is Phil. I'm having a little bit of a Rip Van Winkle moment here. I did not even make that connection. You know, we sat through so many of those Christie town halls, which were a fascinating study in politics,
And
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
could write a book about those and how I did not realize he every time had the same joke. What was the joke? He was,
It was, he'd say, "Oh, you got to do this, that, and the other thing." We'll
"You got
send.
any questions for me?" Nobody ever does, and
Yes.
everyone would laugh. And
Yes.
you know, it sounded like a new joke to the audience. They would all laugh, and all of us who had heard it 60 times would.
Just groan.
I did not even make that connection.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well,
Well, he's
those
the
were
Republican
incredible.
candidate.
He got a great lesson however he winds up. He got a great lesson in orchestrating political theater. That those town halls were like Wizard of Oz level stuff.
Yeah. Including the man behind the curtain, because Christie would always come out of behind the
Yes,
curtain.
exactly. It was, you know,
Jelani, has Joe Hathaway moved the needle at all?
This has always been considered a rather safely blue seat, and
Yeah.
to what Fred Snowflack was talking about earlier, and even according to the latest polls that have come out, um, Americans tend to be more in tune with gas prices than they do foreign policy. Now this foreign policy was a little bit more close to home due to the nature of it and the protests and everything like that. But also the American public oftentimes has a very short memory, right? It's a couple of protests. It's a lot of protests, several months ago, and now the gas prices are, $5, $6. When you go to the polls, people usually remember their most recent form of suffering. I mean, that's usually what happens with voters. They usually remember their most recent form of suffering. That's the reason why, in politics, it's always good to be terrible during your first 2 years and be great during your last 2 years. Because if you're great during your first two, but you're terrible during your last two, people always remember the terrible twos, right? And
Yeah.
so. it'll all of the Democrats have lined up, behind her. Even the ones that she beat in the primary have lined up behind her. So it would be a very steep hill for him to climb, to say the
Yeah.
least.
All right, let's move on to the next bane of our existence, the World Cup. Nobody has yet come up with like a World Cup palooza or World Cup apocalypse kind of a thing. So, Brian, I'm going to get you to work on that. What do you think about this World Cup, other than the fact that it's the New York, New Jersey World Cup, despite the fact that all the games are in Jersey? There's a World Cup sales tax in the area. And I don't even want to get started on $20 million from the EDA for FIFA events. Give me your take on the World Cup and the impact it's going to have on our North Jersey communities.
The whole idea that bubbled up this week that they're floating about the sales tax, like temporarily raising the sales tax for the World Cup, it seemed to me like they're ripping a page right from the New Jersey Boardwalk Carney, which is fleece the tourists. They're coming down, get them to shoot a basketball at a hoop that's too small for the ball to go through, charge them double for the hot dog. It's like they took it right out of Ocean County and Atlantic County Boardwalk, and then that's not going to fly well. But that might work. That might fly because it's like, yeah, these people are coming in. Let's see what we can get. We're going to have to suffer through this, so let's make some money off of it. But the thing that really is going to affect New Jersey locals and people in the communities is the shutting down of Penn Station on game days by New Jersey Transit. That seemed to come out of the blue, out of nowhere. It seems like what is New Jersey Transit's mission? It's to move people who live in this region to and from work and get them around. And now you're going to say you're out. You're not even allowed to use this train station to get home. So, one of those things, the sales tax is going to, I think it might fly because it's like, locally, it's like, yeah, we'll make some money off of this thing.
Tourists.
But that Penn Station idea is that was shocking to me that they're going to close the station down on game days and not only ticket holders to the games can get onto New Jersey Transit trains from Penn Station.
Jelani, there's got to be a walking way, or a way to walk to the stadium, like from Newark Penn Station or Journal Square in Jersey City. They should be a walking path, should there not?
Long walk.
As the traffic currently is, you just might get to MetLife a lot more quicker.
Because you can't even park at MetLife.
Like I said,
drive there and park and then tailgate.
Yeah, I said, if you walk, you just might get there quicker. I mean, and I mean, obviously, I live in Newark. I live a couple of blocks away from Penn Station, Newark, and I'm like in the Ironbound, right on the edge of McCarter Highway. I just think about the traffic that we already have, especially in the Ironbound, and I mean, the Ironbound is going to be deep during World Cup. This is the soccer capital. This is the soccer culture of New Jersey. This is going to be deep. You've been to the Ironbound before.
Oh yeah.
Parking is already absolute hell. So what the World Cup is going to do is it is going to basically take every convenience of New Jersey and put it on steroids. And I don't know how many New Jerseyans are going to be happy about that.
Time to head out of town. Fred, you're going to walk? Too far, huh?
Yeah, but I actually remember when the Super Bowl was at MetLife and the trains ran then, but I think they also made a big case. They actually literally prevented people from walking to the stadium. I recall I used to go to Jet games and I used to park I guess it's Patterson Plank Road or some of the other roads on behind the stadium. I guess it's probably East Rutherford or Colstead and walk. Now I remember for the Super Bowl, they weren't allowing people to walk. That was sort of security concerns. I don't know if it'll be the same thing with the soccer, but I mean, shutting the trains down doesn't seem to me logical at all.
Yeah. If you want to know, Go
The
ahead.
Super Bowl, if you can remember, was a complete public. They told everyone to take public transit, and then
Yes.
it turned into be a public transit disaster.
Yeah.
I was in the stands. I was covering the Super Bowl, and it was a very surreal moment. At the very end of the game, an announcement comes over the stadium and says, "No one, please, no one leave the stadium." And Seahawks fans are just ready to go nuts. Their team just won their first Super Bowl and they're trying to get out of there. And the Broncos fans are all want to go home and go to bed and cry. And everyone's trying to get out. And then it was really chaos. It was real chaos. And then hours and hours later, people are still in that stadium. So they're saying they corrected all this and they're saying that they have this, but I don't see the major infrastructure changes that have been made since then to correct that. I mean, maybe they'll pull it off, but
If you want to know more about how it's going to suck trying to get to the World Cup, check out our talk with NJ Advanced Media's Larry Higgs on Hold That Thought. That's streaming right now on the Hold That Thought YouTube channel. So as we come to the end here, got about 2 minutes left. Short answers here, gents. Are we going to have a nuclear-powered Jersey soon, Brian? What happened to no nukes?
I don't know. We know when they closed down Oyster Creek in Ocean County, and I think it was 2018 or 2019. I remember thinking, why are they doing this? Maybe it seemed like the cart before the horse. I think the Murphy administration went so into offshore wind before that was done, and I was thinking they should keep this place open for a while. And now they're in this jam. It's wild to see nuclear power come back into vogue, especially on the left side of the political spectrum.
It's crazy. Fred, Rutgers Eagleton poll, Cheryl, is that like what, 44%? Is that good?
Yeah, 44 doesn't sound good, but if you look at the whole poll, her approval rating is 44, but disapproval is 29. So that's plus 15, which is pretty good, I guess. And the rest of the people either, I guess they don't care yet.
That's like saying she hits 220, but her OPS is 800.
I'm an old guy. I don't like the OPS. Let's just stick with the batting average.
Jelani, you got a housewarming gift for the governor as she prepares to move into Drumthwacket?
I think the government will have enough housewarming gifts for her. I'm too busy moving into my place, so we'll see.
Brian, housewarming gift.
I just think it's a gift to all of us that we get to say the word Drumthwacket for the next 4 years.
Agreed.
The gift is for us. It's just a fun word to say.
We'll learn how to spell it again. So
Yes, that's right also. All right, press corps is done for the week. Brian Donohue, Jelani Gibson, Fred Snowflack. Merci beaucoup, gentlemen. And thanks to all of you. Do us a favor now and hit that like button and then subscribe to the channel to help keep it going. I'm David Cruz. We'll see you next week.